On the streets of Rio de Janeiro, it's less crowded than usual, but not as empty as local officials would like, after President Jair Bolsonaro again made an appeal to Brazilians not to punish the economy by staying at home.
The cure cannot be worse than the disease.
As COVID-19 continues to spread, Brazilians are torn between listening to their president or everyone else. Defiant governors and mayors have restricted all non-essential activities, including church services. Bolsonaro's battle against social isolation has isolated him politically as never before.
This family is stuck outside of their house because their dead relative's inside and has been for some time.
We have been waiting for 5 days. We're tired of calling 911, and the only thing they say is to wait a bit more.
It's something that's happening across Guayaquil in Ecuador. Many bodies have simply been left in the street. The collapse of funeral services, full cemeteries and a curfew has meant that many aren't able to bury their dead, and authorities are struggling to help. The country's been among the worst hit by the coronavirus in Latin America, and Guayaquil, its largest city, is at the epicenter. It's around 30 degrees here. It doesn't quite fit the theory that heat can stop it. On Tuesday, the mayor, herself in isolation with the virus, announced more emergency measures.
Weeks after the first coronavirus case was confirmed in Sweden, life appears very much as normal in the cities and towns. People are still allowed to gather in groups of up to 50, while isolation is a question of free will. The so-called Swedish model getting support, at least on the streets. Primary schools remain open after the health agency said it doesn't believe children are strong transmitters of COVID-19. Testing of which has been minimal, with measures to increase it only announced on Tuesday, beginning with hospital staff. A letter criticising the hands-off approach was signed by 2,000 people in Sweden's medical community, but plenty support it as well.
A temporary morgue is being built in East London as hundreds of people are being killed by coronavirus in the capital city daily. The makeshift mortuary is being built on Wanstead Flats in Manor Park. Building work started on Tuesday with fences being erected around the 334-acre site. The new facility will be used as a holding place before a burial or cremation can take place. It's understood relatives of the deceased will not be allowed to visit, and the mortuary will be ready to use within a few weeks. It comes when the death toll in Britain has surpassed 2,000, with a further 29,000 infected.
Mel, this will be one of the most difficult maritime operations really in Australia's peacetime history. At least 8 cruise liners, 8,500 crew aboard, all to be tested for COVID-19 by doctors who will be either lowered onto the ships from helicopters or, as we saw today, they'll be ferried out by launch. Now, for these brave teams, the challenge is that with crews isolated in such tiny spaces, and these aerials will give you a bit of an idea of what they're up against, the risk of infection is just so high. It's a military-style operation which is being backed by New South Wales Police. First to the Ruby Princess, the ship that's now known to be responsible for more than 400 cases of the virus after passengers were allowed to disembark, incredibly, without being checked. At least 6 crew members have been medically evacuated, but there are 1,000 crew members who remain on board.
And South Korea reported 89 new cases of the coronavirus on Thursday, bringing the total to 9,976, closing in on 10,000. Of the new cases, 21 were in the southeastern city of Daegu, 17 in Gyeonggi-do province and 14 in the capital, Seoul. The country also detected 18 imported cases at quarantine checkpoints. South Korea reported 4 more deaths, bringing the death toll to 169. 261 more people were discharged from hospital. The total number of cured people now stands at 5,828. South Korea's recovery rate is now more than 58%.
About the problem of COVID. Kung gusto ninyo barilan, di sige. Gusto ninyo ng pukpukan, sige. I will not hesitate. My orders are sa police, pati military, pati mga barangay, na pagka ginulo at nagkaroon ng okasyon na lumaban at ang buhay ninyo ay nalagay sa alanganin, shoot them dead. Marami hong problema na pumuputok na. Kasi pag maggulo, walang order, walang distribution na mangyari.
With the message, all despair is followed by hope, all darkness is followed by sunshine. A Turkish military aircraft was loaded with medical supplies and sent to Spain and Italy, the 2 European countries worst hit by the coronavirus pandemic. The cargo included medical masks, gloves and antiseptics produced by Turkish companies. Turkey has boosted production of medical equipment to combat COVID-19 and sent the aid after a request from NATO. Its Secretary-General, Jens Stoltenberg, applauded the effort, tweeting, "Solidarity in action, proud to see NATO allies supporting each other through our disaster relief centre."
They've been lining up since 6 a.m. for the test. Across the country, hospitals and clinics are working overtime. 100,000 tests are done every day in Germany, a massive program that helps prepare for the pandemic. It's obviously not the tests that save lives, he says, but very early testing does allow us to detect infections quickly, which enables us to limit the spread of the virus and keep the contamination level low. Massive tests, but also quarantines and early steps to keep people at home, all helped Germany keep its COVID-19 mortality rate at a very low level.
The goats are taking over, roaming the deserted streets. Now that the humans in this town in Wales are following orders to stay home, there's no one to shoo them away. It's a phenomenon we're seeing all over the world. That's a civet crossing a main road in India. Can you believe wild pigs on the streets of Paris? And this bear is checking out a deserted neighborhood in Monrovia, California. In Thailand, screaming monkeys swarm a major intersection. The tourists have disappeared, and the primates have taken over.
The bizarre derailment ended here, just 250 yards from the U.S. naval ship Mercy, docked at the port of Los Angeles. It has non-COVID hospital patients on board. Federal agents say 44-year-old Eduardo Moreno, the train engineer, purposely ran it off the tracks. They say his intention was to crash it into the USNS Mercy. Just before 12:30 Tuesday afternoon, a CHP officer says he saw Moreno purposefully run the train off the tracks through concrete and steel barriers, through a chain-link fence and 3 unoccupied cars before it finally came to a stop. Luckily, no one was hurt. That CHP officer and Port Police took Moreno into custody. He apparently told the CHP officer he believed the USNS Mercy was tied to a government plot